Great.
We'll call the meeting to order for Wicomico County Council, Legislative Session 2022-19 for September 6th, 2022. Those that would like to stand and join us in the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, please do.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. And give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Entertain a motion from council to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any corrections, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. The consent agenda has been approved unanimously. At this time, we have proclamations. We have about 3 proclamations. The first proclamation is to recognize National Suicide Prevention Week. And Council, who, is it you? Okay, yeah, Josh.
Do we have any
Really
folks
from
with us?
Michelle Hardy.
Come on up. So this proclamation is National Suicide Prevention Week, whereas suicide remains the 10th leading cause of death in the United States and the 2nd leading cause of death among individuals between the age of 10 to 34. Whereas 90% of people who die by suicide have a diagnosable and treatable mental health condition, although often the condition is not recognized or treated. Whereas conditions such as the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention are dedicated to saving lives, bringing hope to those affected by suicide through education, advocacy, resources, and those who have lost someone to suicide or who do struggle. Whereas the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention urges that we recognize suicide as a preventable public health problem, addresses disparities to assess mental health care, promote awareness that suicide most often occurs when stressors exceed someone's coping abilities, and implement strategies to improve access to quality mental health, substance abuse, and suicide prevention services. Now, therefore, Wicomico County Council and the Acting County Executive hereby designate September 4th through 10th as National Suicide Prevention Week in Wicomico County, done the 6th day of September 2022, signed by the County Executive and all members of the County Council. And before I turn it over for you to say a couple words, I will say that's where wearing yellow is what folks, they say, try to wear that around, make this week the week that we recognize how much of an important problem this is. My friend lost 2 people to suicide 2 weeks ago. I went to a funeral for suicide for a really amazing advocate last week who was a pillar of our community, and everyone says wouldn't expect it coming. So I appreciate all that you do to make sure that you bring attention to this. Thank you. Would you like to say a few words?
Or I could do something, another.
Sure. Okay.
Recovery month, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Well, let's get a picture for this.
Okay,
That's
thank
good.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. You're a popular lady today, aren't you? This proclamation is for National Recovery Month, whereas National Recovery Month is held every September to educate Americans that substance abuse treatment and mental health services can enable those with substance abuse and/or mental health disorder to recover and live a healthy, rewarding life. Whereas Recovery Month celebrates the gains made by those in recovery and reinforces that behavioral health is essential, treatment is effective, and people can and do recover. Whereas millions of Americans' lives have been transformed through recovery, and Recovery Month provides a vehicle to celebrate these accomplishments. Speaking about the gains made by those in recovery and sharing success stories helps increase awareness. And furthers a greater understanding about the disease and mental health and substance abuse. Now therefore, the Wicomico County Council and the Acton County Executive hereby proclaim September as National Recovery Month in Wicomico County, and encourage all citizens to celebrate those who are in recovery and give support and hope for those struggling with a substance abuse disorder. Ms. Hardy?
Thank you for the proclamations recognizing Suicide Prevention Month, Suicide Prevention Week, as well as National Recovery Month. September is a very busy month at the Health Department, and I am proud to accept those proclamations on behalf of our health officer, Lori Brewster, and also I am the director of the local behavioral health authority located within the Wicomico County Health Department. So you will see a lot of things going on Facebook, a lot of activities we have going on, and we are doing a Wear Yellow for Friday, either this week or for Friday and Saturday. Saturday is World Suicide Prevention Day. And then, of course, we have a lot of Go Purple throughout the whole month of September to recognize recovery. So it is, mental health is important, recovery is important, and I thank you so much. Thank you.
Proclamation we have, I think all our guests are out in the hall, right?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think the majority of them.
Yeah, this is to recognize the Little League Softball World Series championship game players, actually. Bill McCain and Larry Dodd are going to present this. This is the team that got national recognition for Wicomico County and for Del Mar as well. Very proud of them.
You guys can come this way.
I would announce ahead of time that if anybody wants to take pictures, you're not going to be in the way. When the proclamation's read, you can move. You can come all the way up here if you'd like to take pictures. You're not in anybody's way, so feel free.
Well, thank you all for being here. I called Mark the day of their last game and congratulated them. To me, they're the best in the world. They probably didn't come in first place, but they're the best in the world and got some good coaches, some good managers, and they couldn't have done it without your support. A lot of volunteer hours. I was going to say man hours, but we have some women involved too. So a lot of hours were put in, and it's not free. A lot of people donated financially, so thank you for that. These Little Leagues can't do that, and I believe Del Mar is the only Little League in the county that has girls softball. In Wicomico, yes. So they, it's very fortunate that they put on the team for these young ladies, and I don't know if you all got to watch them, but they're better than a lot of boys that I managed in my all-star team, so I'm very impressed with you guys. So I do want to point something out. Who's this young man right here?
That's Gavin.
What's his last name?
Roy Stewart.
Yeah, I know. Does anybody know anything? Where's your sister at?
She's not here.
Oh, she's not here.
sister?
The one that played.
Played right there.
How many people can say that they and their sister made the World Series? You made this World Series, right?
No, I went to regionals, but we played on TV.
You were on the road to the World Series. So not many people can say that, so congratulations there too. Must be something good in your genes. The County Council Wicomico is with great pleasure that the Acton County Executive and the members of the Wicomico County Council extend the certificate of recognition to the Del Mar Little League girls softball team for advancing to the championship game of the Little League Softball World Series, done this 6th day of September of 2022, and signed by the Acton County Executive and all the members of the County Council. And now my colleague would like to say something.
Yeah, just a couple quick comments. This is kind of special for me because I grew up in Del Mar. Del Mar is my hometown. I'm a alumni and a Del Mar Wildcat, so, I have a lot of pride like you all do, and even take it back even further, the complex in Del Mar. My father was mayor of Del Mar back in the late 70s and early 80s, and he was the one that got the property acquired and developed the sports complex in Del Mar, which, he would be proud to see the fruition of, these girls and what they've done. They've made our community proud. In fact, how many people watch that championship game? Right. I mean, it's great. It's great to see that. And in fact, I remember the day of the game, I happened to be at the dentist office, and like everyone in the dentist office, they're talking about the game. They had to stop early that day so they could go home and watch the game. So, people all over were, paying attention. And Mark and I, we got a lot of history in Del Mar. We go way back, and way back, and as well as our parents. So it's just neat to really see all this take place, and we're just so proud of these girls. And let's give them all a great big hand. We'll give Mark his day here.
Yeah, I'm not the best public speaker, but I certainly learned over the last 2 months how to be in front of a microphone between ESPN and DSN, which plugged to DSN. They were great. They were there at the regionals. They were there at the World Series. So DSN that was the best thing that's happened to sports around here in a long time, up until these girls came on. But no, it was a great summer. Just the support we've had from the parents, a lot of them out here tonight. But just the financial support, like Larry mentioned, it's just incredible. I'm not even going to tell you how much money we raised, because you wouldn't believe it if I told you. But just, the text messages blowing up my phone for 2 weeks while we were at regionals and World Series. It was just knowing that people back home were supporting us and paying attention, and, put Del Mar on the Little League softball map. So we appreciate everything, and thank you to the council for having us.
I'm glad you answered the phone that day I called. I know you were busy. Come up here and take pictures.
Yeah, we can get a picture of everybody. Come up here.
Line up front here. Take pictures of everybody together.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They know how to pose.
They know. They've been doing it for a while.
Make sure nobody's covered up.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Ready? I like your fun poses, so any kind of, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See you next year.
Congratulations.
That'll be the best part of our meeting tonight.
Very exciting.
Good evening, Ms. Hurley.
Mike. Good evening, Mr. President, council members, ladies and gentlemen. The first item on the agenda this evening is Resolution Number 104-2022. This is authorizing Motorola Solutions as a sole source vendor for the Wicomico County Department of Emergency Services Radio Division during the fiscal year '23. You notice that this resolution does require a supermajority vote, which means 5 council members need to vote in favor in order for it to pass.
Obtain a motion from council to approve Resolution 104-2022.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Gentlemen, good evening. If you could state your name and your title, left to right.
Lorenzo Cropper, Acting Director, Emergency Services.
Bill Nutter, Manager, Radio Systems.
I'm Richard Moore, Senior Account Manager for Wycombe County for Motorola.
Thank you. I guess if you could just give us whoever would like to go first, just give us a brief breakdown as far as the requirement for a sole source vendor, the need for a sole source vendor.
Actually, I'm going to refer to Bill with that.
Okay.
Excuse me. So what we have with our radio system, it is a Motorola P25 digital public safety radio system. And what that means is most of the equipment is manufactured by Motorola, and the support equipment and parts, new equipment that goes with the system is made by Motorola. We can't go to another vendor and get the equipment to work with the Motorola system. So that's why we're asking for Motorola as the sole source.
Okay. Any questions?
Is the system constantly being updated, or is just one system and you have to get a new?
It's our system. We have a 15-year contract and maintenance agreement with Motorola, and every other year our system is updated to the latest and greatest P25 system that Motorola makes. So every other year it is the newest system available.
And I'm not a big fan of sole source vending, but this is definitely a case where it is needed.
Well, we understand, and if there's certain parts, is bought from other vendors, we, as per the county policy, 3 prices or what have you, depending on the
Right.
cost of the equipment, and we do that. We always do that, but in a lot of cases, it has to be Motorola
This
equipment.
situation definitely has to be Motorola.
Yeah, and it is on the state of Maryland contract, so we get that pricing.
Good.
Comments? Seeing none. All those in favor of Resolution 104-2022, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Next for your consideration is Resolution Number 105-2022. This is to make a supplemental appropriation from contingency to the Security Department in the amount of $21,025. And we have Pam Olin here, Director of Finance, if there are any questions.
Any motion from council to approve Resolution 105-2022?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Owen, good to see you here tonight.
Hello.
Anybody have any questions? Any comments you'd like to make?
Just that this was inadvertently, it was not an intended, it wasn't intended to miss this, and it happened, and we're asking for an increase for the security department downstairs. We believe it's appropriate. We believe it fits with the what those in similar situations are making, and so we're asking for a budget amendment to allow for us to be able to increase the amounts.
Any questions? All those in favor of Resolution 1005-2022, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Pam.
Next is a submission and introduction of nominees to the Police Accountability Board and the Police Administrative Charging Committee. The acting county executive has submitted several names for council's confirmation to the Wicomico County Police Accountability Board, as well as the Administrative Charging Committee. And Mr. Pessotto is here to introduce those nominees.
Good evening. John Pessotto, Acting County Executive and Director of Administration.
Wilbur County Attorney.
In 2021, the Maryland Legislature passed the Maryland Police Accountability Act of 2021. This law required all counties to create 3 police oversight boards. Am I coming through there?
Yeah, good.
Each of which serves a different function. The 3 police oversight boards consist of a Police Accountability Board, or PAB, an Administrative Charging Committee, or ACC, and a Trial Board. In addition, in April of 2022, the County Council created and the County Executive signed into law the creation of the 3 Police Oversight Boards. Collectively, the 3 boards are referred to as the Law Enforcement Review Board of Wicomico County. As a reminder, the Police Accountability Board for Wycomico County is a 9-member board appointed by the county executive. State law requires, to the extent practical, the membership shall reflect the racial, gender, cultural diversity of Wicomico County. I wish to thank the county's Planning and Zoning and Community Development Department for collecting and providing the recent census data, which was factored into this process. Additionally, the ACC is a 5-member board. The county executive appoints 2 members to this board. The chair of the PAB automatically sits on this board as well. Wicomico County conducted 2 separate required advertising periods over the summer. The vacancies were advertised through a press release to numerous media outlets that went to county municipalities. And additional numerous media outlets at county council meetings, and it was on the homepage of the county website. This was after the numerous open work sessions the council had over the preceding months. Following the advertisement period, the applicants underwent the screening process enumerated in state and county law. A total of 37 applications were received, and 33 applicants were eligible for a board following the initial screening process. To ensure that each county election district was represented, those applicants, as per their home address, were broken into their respective Wicomico County councilmanic districts. Subsequently, I conducted a review of the applicants and information provided through the screening process. Throughout the entire process, in establishing this legislation and navigating its implementation and culminating in these nominations, I wish to acknowledge the following. The County Council, in their careful deliberation in crafting the final legislation. The County Executive's Office administrative staff. The Wicomico County Sheriff's Office personnel for conducting the initial screenings for eligibility under the law. Madam State's Attorney Jamie Dykes for providing Law Enforcement Review Board administrative staffing. County staff, MACO staff, administrative officers from neighboring counties, the Director of Criminal Justice at Warwick Community College, the directors at the Maryland Department of Police Training and Standards Commission, the community, and all of those who applied. A special acknowledgement is extended to the County Attorney, Andrew Illuminati, who has been instrumental in this entire process. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce the following nominees. If you are here, most of you are, if you just come up and stand behind me. Galen Adkins, nominated to a 2-year term on the Police Accountability Board. J. Anthony Dickerson, appointed to a 1-year term on the Police Accountability Board. Elizabeth Griffith, appointed to a 1-year term on the Police Accountability Board. Deanna Hall, appointed to a 1-year term on the Police Accountability Board. Deborah Hamill, appointed to a 2-year term on the Police Accountability Board. Ronald Lewis, appointed to a 2-year term as chair of the Police Accountability Board. Sarah McGarity, appointed to a 1-year term on the Police Accountability Board. David H. Owens, appointed to a 2-year term on the Police Accountability Board. Abaki Petione, appointed to a 2-year term on the Police Accountability Board. For the Police Administrative Charging Committee, Ronald Lewis is appointed to the Charging Committee. Again, comes over from the Police Accountability's chair. Deborah McGilton, appointed to a 1-year term on the Administrative Charging Committee. And Mark David Babe Wilson, appointed to a 2-year term on the Administrative Charging Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, these are my nominees for the Police Accountability Board and the Administrative Charging Committee. And I thank you.
Thank you, County Executive Basoto. We're going to take these one at a time, council members. The first First item here is Resolution Number 106, 2022. Galen Adkins, entertain a motion to approve Resolution 106, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes. Congratulations, Mr. Adkins. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 107, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? This is Mr. Anthony Dickerson. And when I ask for any discussions, if any of you would like to make a comment, feel free, okay? So, any discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes. Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 108, 2022, confirming the appointment of Elizabeth Griffin.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 109, 2022, confirming the appointment of Deanna Hall.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 110-2022, confirming the appointment of Deborah Hamill.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passed. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 111-2022, confirming the appointment of Ronald Lewis.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 112-2022, confirming the appointment of Sarah McGarity.
So moved.
Second. There goes second. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 113-2022, confirming the appointment of David Owens.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, resolution passes. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 114-2022, confirming the appointment of Habaki Petion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 115-2022, confirming the appointment of Ronald B. Lewis.
So moved.
And a second. We have a motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 116-2022, confirming the appointment of Deborah D. Chilton.
So moved.
Second.
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 Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes. And entertain a motion to approve Resolution 117-2022, confirming the appointment of Mark David Babe Wilson.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution 117-2022 passes. Acting County Executive, all of your nominees for the Police Accountability Board and the Administrative Charging Committee have been approved by the council unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if anyone would like to make a comment or go to the podium, make any comment, feel free. But we thank you very much for volunteering. We look forward very much so with working with you over the next few years. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Good evening, Mr. Mitchell. How are you?
I'm fine. Hope you are too. This is Legislative Bill 2022-10, an act to amend Chapter 225 of the Wicomico County Code, titled Zoning, Part 6, titled Accessory and Principal Uses, Article Roman numeral 17, titled Accessory Uses, Section 225-62, titled Outside Storage, and Article Roman numeral 18, titled Principal Uses, Section 225-65, titled Outside Storage, to prohibit the open-top storage of liquid organic fertilizer or soil amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Entertain a motion from council to introduce Legislative Bill 2022-10.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Good evening, Mr. Wilbur. How are you?
Good evening. Fine.
I'd like to, or Mr. Cannon, as Ms. Hurley's handing this out, it's a actually, it's an amendment that I'd like to make a motion to propose regarding Legislative Bill 2022-10. It's similar to what Mr. Mitchell had presented, but I think it's a more just clearer version, and it's also a little bit of a hybrid because it also deals with an exception to the prohibition on the open storage tanks. And I guess officially to do the amendment, I actually need to, I got to read it into the record.
Yes.
So if you bear with me, because it's a couple pages, so it's going to take me a couple minutes here to read it into the record. So
Which one are we looking at?
it would be titled Legislative Bill 2022 -10. So I'll read this, and like I say, just bear with me because it's a couple pages long. It's similar to what we already have. This is introduced at September 6, 2022. It's an act to amend Chapter 225 zoning of the Wycomico County Code to regulate the storage of organic waste material, including DAF waste and DAF residuals, from processing and rendering facilities. Whereas the slaughter and related processing and rendering of animals generates waste and byproduct material that contains organic matter, including that commonly called DAF. And whereas the organic matter in such industrial produced material is subject to natural decay, resulting in the release of gases with a noxious odor that permeates the surrounding atmosphere. And whereas for several years a substantial volume of such material has been stored for prolonged periods in Wycombe County, during which numerous residents have experienced adverse and harmful health and well-being effects from the odor and other emissions released during the storage of such material and the traffic of large tanker trucks hauling such material to and from such storage at all hours. And whereas such effects have greatly reduced these residents' beneficial use and enjoyment of residential and other property, making it possible to conduct activity outdoors, open windows for ventilation, and invite guests and relatives into their homes and property, which substantially reduces the customary and normal usage of their homes and property and raises concerns regarding their value and marketability. And whereas the County Council has determined that it is necessary and proper to protect residents from the aforementioned effects of the storage of such material by limiting its storage except where it is created and for a short period elsewhere to facilitate its use as a soil amendment or conditioner. And whereas Section 10-317 of the Local Government Article of the Maryland Code authorizes the county to enact local laws to protect and promote public safety, health, morals, comfort, and welfare relating to the disposal of waste and use of buildings and other structures. And Section 10-328 of the Local Government Article of the Maryland Code authorizes the county to provide for the prevention, abatement, and removal of nuisances. And whereas Section 10-324 of the Local Government Article of the Maryland Code authorizes the county to enact local laws relating to zoning to protect and promote public safety, health, morals, and welfare that may displace or limit economic competition by owners of users of property in accordance with state policy regarding the county's zoning authority. And whereas Section 225-2 of the Wicomico County Code provides that the Wicomico County Council is empowered to regulate and restrict the use of land and buildings, and 225-3C1 provides that the zoning regulations shall be enacted for purposes that include preserving and promoting the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Wycomico County. Whereas storage of organic waste material that lawfully exists when this bill becomes effective will be a lawful, non-conforming use subject to the regulations for nonconformity specified in Article 25 of this chapter, or 225 of this chapter. All right, Section 1, be it enacted and ordained by the County Council of Wycomico County, Maryland, in legislative session as follows. A, the following is added in Chapter 225, Section 225-25, definitions of basic terms, Subpart B. Organic waste material. Organic waste created at an animal processing facility or rendering facility, including material collected by means of dissolved air flotation, commonly called DAF waste or DAF residuals. Organic waste storage facility. That's defined as any structure or other location used to store organic waste material. And then the definition of closed system, a system that uses anaerobic digestion or another enclosed industrial process to capture the odors, gases, and other emissions from the processing of organic waste material. Item B, the following is added in Chapter 225, Article, whichever we choose here, uses and standards enumerated as a new section. Organic waste material storage. A, purpose and intent, to provide public protection from the adverse and harmful effects and risks from the storage of organic waste material consistent with the legislative purpose of the county's zoning regulatory power and authority. B, except as permitted by special exception with conditions in the I-2 district, storage of organic waste material as defined in Section 225-25 of this chapter is prohibited as a principal use, including an unclassified use or as an accessory use, with the following exceptions that apply only to the extent that such use is otherwise lawful. 1, organic waste material may be stored in a closed system as defined in Section 225-25 of this chapter at the location where it was created. Or 2, organic waste material may be stored for not more than 30 days in portable, closed, mobile storage containers to facilitate land application permitted by the state. Item C, the storage of organic waste material is added as a use permitted by special exception by the Board of Appeals only in the I-2 heavy industrial district, to be designated as such in Section 225-67, Table of Permitted Uses, designations followed by parenthetical reference to the section of the zoning code added by subpart 3 of this section 1 of the bill, subject to the following conditions, which may not be waived or modified and which shall be interpreted as defined in Section 225-25 of this chapter. It may only occur, this is item number 1, it may only occur in organic waste storage facility that is a closed system with an impervious catchment basement adequate to hold the maximum capacity of organic waste material in the event of leakage, overflow, or damage that are not located within the Paleo Channel Overlay District, the Chesapeake Bay Critical Area, 100-year floodplain, or a rural legacy area, or within 1,000 feet of any wetlands, tidal or non-tidal, blue lime stream, or tax ditch. Item 2, before issuance of a special exception, detailed plans and specifications for the organic waste storage facility and its closed system and the catchment basement prepared by a registered Maryland professional engineer or engineers must be submitted to the Board of Appeals together with a certification by such engineers that if constructed in accordance with the plans and specifications, the organic waste storage facility and its closed system, when filled to its maximum capacity, will not leak or allow gases or other matter to escape during a period of no public electric service for 168 hours or 7 days, and that the catchment basement is adequate to hold the maximum capacity. At least, item number 3, at least 30 days before storage begins, a certification by those or other engineers must be submitted to the Board of Appeals stating that, based upon reasonable inspection and observation during construction thereof, the organic waste storage facility and its closed system and catchment basement had been constructed substantially in accordance with the plans and specifications mentioned above and meet the performance criteria stated in item B2 above. 4, after storage has begun, a certification by those or other engineers that based upon current reasonable inspection and observation, the organic waste storage facility and its closed system and catchment basement substantially conform to the plans and specifications mentioned above and meet the performance criteria stated in item B2 above, must be submitted to the Board of Appeals within 30 days after each 1-year anniversary date of the beginning of the storage or such later deadline for a particular submittal event as the Board of Appeals shall have approved for good cause shown. Item 5, lot area, setbacks, and other district regulations specified in Section 225-74 for the I-2 district are satisfied. 6, vehicular access to the site must be conveniently available by major collector roads as defined by the Federal Highway Functional Classification System or state or federal highways. Item 7, the plans and specifications and the certifications mentioned above shall, after submittal to the Board of Appeals, be maintained and made available by the board for inspection by the public during normal office hours. And last item, number 8, these conditions shall be stated in the document issued by the Board of Appeals for the special exception, if approved, for storage of organic waste material. This Section 2, being enacted by the legislative bill, shall be known as 2022-10 of Wycombe County, Maryland, shall take effect 60 days after its final passage, unless a proper petition for referendum therefore shall be filed prior to said date, in which event the bill shall not take effect until the expiration of 30 days following the approval of this bill by a majority of the qualified voters of the county voting in any such referendum. Certified, correct, and passed and adopted by the County Council of Wycombe, Maryland, on date and year to be filled in. To kind of simplify that a little bit, thanks for bearing with us if we have to sort of do that to get it into the record. Essentially, this legislative bill and this amendment prohibits the storage of DAF in open air storage tanks, but permits by special exception in the I-2 district the use of closed system storage facilities, usually known as anaerobic digestion systems, would be permitted. And it's also permitted that a farmer that may be creating it on their own site could actually store the material under this as well. So that's sort of a short version of that, even though it takes a while to kind of go through that.
I appreciate that you've introduced it for the record, Councilman McCain. I have really huge concerns over what we're looking at right now. It's sort of unprecedented in my experience. I don't recognize this personally, and I'd have to also ask Mr. Wilbur your opinion on this, or Mr. Mitchell your opinion on this. What you're presenting here is not, in my opinion, it's not an amendment. This is an entirely new bill. There's not enough here that we could even consider it to be an amendment. I don't think any council member here would know how to dissect it to evaluate what portions they do or do not want to add or subtract from the original bill. And I'm afraid, in my impression, it does violate the legislative process, because this bill as it is right here hasn't been reviewed by the legal department. It hasn't been vetted by the public. It hasn't been advertised so that the public knows and is aware of it so they can give input to this. So I'm really concerned about that, because we have no idea what legal challenges may come about this. And, again, the only amount of time that this council has had to even review this is the amount of time that it took you to read it.
And I appreciate that, but actually, if we look at the bill that's presenting, it's paralleling that with just more narrative associated with it, and it's actually a blend of the two bills actually that we have before us. The first one, which we've referred to as a prohibition, and the second one that we've referred to as an I-2. And that whole I-2 section is really almost paralleling. It's actually a smaller version of the I-2 that we have in our brief books.
Well, again, and again, Bill, I appreciate what you're attempting to do here, but this to me is an entirely new bill. It hasn't been vetted by legal. It hasn't been vetted by the public. The council hasn't even had a chance to review it. We put this on as a legislative session instead of a work session because members of the council wanted to move this forward. And this is certainly material that we'd have to review in a work session completely separate. Mr. Wilbur?
Well, just one thing for Mr. Wilbur answers that, if you don't mind. This is introduction, so my assumption is we will have a work session at our next meeting.
I would suggest that I would like to see that we take away the second and the motion for this legislative bill, and this could be recommended in the work session, and then it could be maybe sort of consolidated as specific amendments if we vote for the actual legislative bill itself, because this is a rewrite, and it's not an amendment, it's a rewrite. Mr. Wilbur?
My comment would be, I think it's certainly a substantial amendment to 22-10. And I think for the council, for legal, for everybody in the audience to have some time to absorb, it can certainly, if it turns out it's passed, fine, but give it some more time to be thought about.
We're still in discussion. Comments?
I heard what you said, and listening to you, it sounded like a new bill. And I actually liked a lot of the things that you were reading. So I don't know if there's a way that we can craft this as an additional bill to vote on in the future.
Mr. McKenzie, doesn't he have some maps to present to us tonight?
Well, right now, what's on the table is a motion for an amendment.
Right, motion and a second.
We'll get there.
Oh,
We'll get to that. I appreciate it, Joe.
I have a question. So,
Yes.
is it okay if I ask a question? So the first legislative bill, is that something we could introduce and then we could make an amendment to that?
That's essentially what.
Well, we've already made a motion.
we're
to
doing.
introduce.
Okay, so
We're
you
in
made, that
discussion.
was all the amendment to that, okay.
Right.
Right. So we're in a discussion on that legislative bill.
So what Bill read was the amendment to that one
This
bill.
bill, yes.
So, yeah, I just got the question. I guess there's numerous ways to do this. Certainly, we have to try to vet all of the pieces that are inside of the original bill and then what was put forth here. I guess, Ms. Hurley, I don't know if there's legislative procedure. I look to you, not that you're the best authority on it, but I guess would we normally be putting in piece by piece as individual amendments into this, or can we put it as one lump sum amendment into the previous bill? And I open that also up to legal.
So my thoughts on that, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, is that Mr. McCain read it as one amendment. So rather than doing a motion for each whereas paragraph, you would want to do it as, one document.
I guess the true clarification might be here is this is not amending the bill that we have before us. It is replacing the bill that we have before us.
Well, we can do it item by item. I mean, we were trying to simplify that process. I know it was a lengthy quote, trying to do it under one amendment. If we have to go item by item and whereas by whereas, we can certainly do that exercise.
Mr. Wilbur?
I think we would be here a while to do that.
Right.
Sounds like another work
Trying to
session.
avoid.
Because, the change is substantial between the new one and the one that's been introduced. My thought was the same, that I think there needs to be some time for everyone to absorb and consider before going forward.
My concern really, the legality of it, based on, our charter, is that the degree of these changes are so substantial that, in a sense, we could be violating the charter because we had not given the public the proper notice of what the true bill is and the true intent of the bill. I mean, there's some portions of it that I can look at, just one or two, where I go, well, that's not, in my opinion,
Right.
that may not even be legal to state in the body of the text.
In the experience I've had with amendments on bills, most of the time they're a one line or a single paragraph to a bill when we do, maybe two. And most of the amendments we make, we pick out a few things in a bill, and different council members have an amendment to make. It can be a substantial change, or it could be a small change. But this is, I think, like John says, it's pretty much a different bill.
And I can take a vote. My concern even in taking a vote is whether it's a legal vote.
It's 5 pages.
Essentially, you have the, we'll say, the agenda version that was presented. It's been voted. It's on the table. This has been brought forth as an amendment to that, a substantial amendment, I would say. I think the question tonight would be, do you want to move forward at all with 2010 or 2022-10? Or do you want to say, bring it to the next meeting after everybody's had a chance to look at it?
We have it on the agenda tonight to review among the council what their opinion is of 2022-10 with input from the legal staff to sort of get an idea of where we're headed just with this one particular legislative bill in itself.
We've got three different options here. I guess, Mr. McCain, you probably have worked on this for a while. Why wasn't it put in, in our brief book earlier? Why did it just get finished today, or?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, we got our, as we normally do, we got our brief book, what was it?
Wednesday.
However, for Labor Day weekend, we were also, my understanding was we were going to get a legal opinion, which we have not gotten any on what was in our brief book. So it was already under question what was in our brief book, and this was like some versions of this were emailed to council members. I forget when that was on. There's been several versions of these from differing folks that have been involved in this process for a while, and I kind of go back. The whereas is, and so it sound like a lot, but the actual legislative part is, the core is two paragraphs when you get down to it, and which, kind of brings us right back to what was proposed in our brief books. I mean, ideally, yeah, we would have loved to have it sooner, but this whole thing has come right down to the, like I said, we still don't have any legal feedback on what we have in front of us now, so.
And what it looks like.
So this is no different.
I'm concerned also, if we take a vote on this, we're gonna run right, depending on how it looks to me like the same exact thing is being proposed for another legislative bill. It's on the agenda tonight as well. So I'm afraid to go down that path.
Whatever we decide to do, I just want to remind everyone, this issue started when I first got on the council over 3.5 years ago. And here we are, almost at the end of my term, and we still haven't had a resolution. So whatever direction we take, I would like to see us move forward something tonight.
Well, that's why it's on the agenda tonight, and originally it was a work session, and there are members of the council that wanted it to be at a legislative session. Now we're presented with materials that really should be introduced in a work session and not a legislative session at the last hour. Some of those 3 years, by the way, I don't think is a full responsibility of the council as a body. I think there were many other parties
Well, I'm not saying who's
trying to get that information.
Yeah, I don't think it's any one in particular person's issue. It's just, I'm saying that this is how long it's been going, so.
Going back to what I said before, Mr. McKenzie's got maps. What Mr. McCain has proposed here, we don't know what the ramifications of this is to even vote on it without seeing the maps. So, to approve this amendment, there's a lot of testimony that needs to be done here tonight before we decide on anything.
Let me ask a question. If we pass anything tonight, this is for future tanks?
Yes.
Okay. So we all know that the state has ruled this as a soil amendment. So there's nothing we can do about that. We can't stop the farmers from putting it on there, just like we can't stop them from putting fertilizer on the field. And it seems like most of the problem is the smell that comes from this tank. So if it's part of the bill that the future tanks, they're permitted, they be closed to stop the smell. If we go back to what we did with the K-Food farms, we put setback and regulations along with that, with the tanks. I think that was a place, instead of us been beating ourselves up for 3 years over this, and just look at something simple. Because what we're doing, we're gonna hurt these farmers. Because when we start regulating stuff and saying a farmer can't do this and he can't do that, there's opposition sitting on the Western Shore that's waiting for this, because there's big opposition that wants to shut the poultry industry down on the Eastern Shore. And if we go against these farmers and we start regulating these farmers and tell them they can't do this and can't do that, those people on the Western Shore, they're gonna have a leg up and they're gonna start going after these poultry farmers like they did several years ago. So we gotta watch how we regulate and try to regulate these farmers and tell them what they can and cannot do.
Mr. President. So I guess for process-wise, typically we'd be able to, if it were a small amendment, this is the introduction of the bill, we would be able to do a small introduction or a small amendment, or pardon me, amendment at this particular stage of the first reading, I guess. Would the challenge here is just the size and scope of the amendment? Is that?
Right, exactly.
Okay. Would it be helpful to, if the amendment, instead of all of what was read off, if it included only the language, not the whereas clauses in that section? I mean, I guess ultimately we want to get to a point where we can start to dissect this or add on. And obviously tonight's not going to be the night to do that. This is just the first stab at introducing it. So I'm just trying to think if is there a better way to move forward where we can at least have it so that the public can see, 2 weeks from now or whenever we look at it, that they have something in front of them that they can see. And it sounds like I'm trying to find a middle ground. Mr. McCain wanted to introduce these. I don't know if that's a way at least you could get the language, the core language of it, which is only at a page and a half. But
John, we really need to know which way we want to move here. You got three things in the agenda. That's the way the agenda was set. Prohibition of DAF tanks in the A1, or DAF tanks in the I2. I think we need to decide which one of these three that we're going to do tonight. That's where we need to go. Without any amendments, I mean, then we move to the work session in the public hearing.
Tonight is an introduction of the legislative bills, period.
One of those bills, correct. So we need to decide that. We don't need another bill. We've had folks sending us bills by email. I could have presented one of those, or any other council. We could have 2 or 3 other bills on the table to amend.
That's our problem. I mean, the first bill, I mean, I can tell you right now, we can start with line 1, but I'm going to offer an amendment. I mean, there's issues with it. And we're going to be breaking it down, which I'm fine with. We can break it down all night. I mean, we're here and start. I mean, I wouldn't even start to approve it like it is.
I'm sure there's issues with either one of these to some people.
That's what I'm saying. But we got to do them one at a time. If we don't like the first one, we might like the intent of it, but if we have to change it, the other two become mute if we accept it.
Well, I have a question for Mr. Wilbur. I don't know if this is premature in asking this question. Is it legal to ban these in Wicomico County? Because that's what 6 members of the council did last meeting. 6 members of the council voted to ban DAF tanks. Is that legal to do that?
The way that I would answer that question is...
Can you speak into the mic so everybody?
Sure. The way I would answer that question is, I think of the 3 bills you have in front of you, the one that relates to A1 is the most legally defensible. I think the I2 bill, if we look at Mr. McKenzie's maps, we'll see that effectively is a ban.
Right.
Which is what the first bill is. Mm-hmm. It is a ban. It's not that you can't do any of the 3, but in terms of, from the legal perspective, defending them, the A1 bill is the most defensible.
If I could then, just so that Joe's making a very good point. I think we do need a clarification from Mr. McKenzie to review what you brought tonight so that we can get and the public can get a broad understanding of what is at play here, whether it's a ban, whether it's I2, or whether it's agriculture. And we're still under discussion on the amendment. I haven't dropped it. I'm not so sure it's even legal to vote on it, but right now we're still under discussion on the amendment.
While you're getting ready, one thing that the council president said before, I think is quite important, whether this amendment, which I don't think is really an amendment, it's a total replacement, has ever been advertised to the public.
Right.
It's so very different. It's not actually parallel. It changes the definition of the substance being discussed, and it changes a lot to the closed tank instead of the open under special exception. So it's quite different. And somebody might be sitting home that saw the ad and said, I'm not too worried about that, but they might be worried about this. It hasn't been advertised. And it's a pretty significant change.